Hey everyone, Austin here. I want to let you know that we're going to try something a little different as we approach the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Helene. That storm changed a lot of lives here in the mountains. Some of you lived through some terrifying or even tragic moments. Some of you experienced strange or maybe even paranormal things, and others have moving stories about how neighbors and communities came together in the aftermath. We'd love to hear your story. You can call in and leave us a voicemail or write in and share what you went through. We'll be putting these stories together for a special anniversary episode, honoring the tragedy, the resilience, and the community that came out of the experience. Just like the aftermath of the storm, we want this to be a bonding opportunity for our community. Think of it as a way for us all to remember, connect, and carry those experiences forward, together. To share your story, give us a call and leave us a message at 828-333-7258. Or send your story in an email to ghostsinthemountains@gmail.com. We'll put that in the show notes in case you missed it. Can't wait to hear from you. Oh, and if you'll be around the Asheville area on September 19th and 20th, come out to Still Here Fest at Fleetwood's in West Asheville. The festival is a benefit for the continued recovery effort from Hurricane Helene, with all proceeds being donated to beloved Asheville. I may or may not be a part of the band kicking things off Friday night, so come say hi and support a great cause if you're around. Hope to see you there.
The Appalachian Mountains are some of the oldest in the world, and we just happen to live in them. One thing we can tell you, there are ghosts in the mountains.
Good evening, and welcome once again to another episode of Ghosts in the Mountains. I am your host, as always, Caleb Hanks. And sadly, this is the first time ever on this podcast that Dr. Captain Austin Burgess is not here in the studio with us. But there's a good reason why he isn't here. And that is because he's flying back home from doing what I'm just going to classify as a field investigation of none other than the San Luis Valley in Colorado, which if you listen to our Unexplained Death of Snippy the Horse episode where we go into some of the UAP flap happening around there in the 60s and the 70s, well, you'll know exactly why Austin's there. Also, it was a vacation, but hey, knock out two birds with one stone. But the great news for me and you, friends, is that I am not alone in my quest of weirdness tonight. In fact, I have a guest I've been trying to get on this show all year, and it finally just came together in probably the most synchronistic way ever because, well, Austin was gone, and hey, I needed somebody. But ladies and gentlemen, I ain't around. Tonight I've got the one and only Justin Biltonen of Three Doors Down fame, the bass player of Three Doors Down, and he is also just an incredible musician in his own right. He writes his own solo music. He kills it with it. It's incredible. He's all over the country all the time, playing to the masses. Justin, dude, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here.
Dude, I am so excited for you to be on this podcast for so many different reasons. One of them being, you and I have probably been sitting around a campfire talking about spooky shit since, at least since we were 17, 18 years old, around then.
It's been
something around
damn near
then.
20 years.
Yeah, I don't even remember, but it's literally been so long I don't even know. But so if you're unfamiliar with Justin Biltonen, this dude has been living the rock and roll dream for a very long time. But before he was doing the big time rock and roll stuff, you and I did used to pal around with none other than people like Joshua P. Warren. You know, you and I never did like a standard paranormal investigation together, but we were always talking about this stuff. We had very similar interest in the spookiness over the years, and you have been able to travel the world, bringing the gift of your music to as many people as you possibly can, and you've been able to go to some really awesome places, and throughout your travels, well, obviously you've experienced some pretty weird stuff, which we're going to get to tonight. But first and foremost, I want you to tell our listenership just a little bit about like who you are, what you do, the things you're interested in. You're also an incredible jewelry maker. The stuff that you make, is it Sacred West Vintage?
Sacred West Silver.
Sacred West Silver, and is it .com?
Yeah, that's the web store, and then it's the same on socials. It's just Sacred West Silver.
Yeah, dude, the stuff that you make is incredibly cool. It's definitely got the the Sacred West look to it, you know.
Yeah.
Dude, so yeah, if you will, just tell the audience a little bit about like who you are, what you do, what you're into, and why the hell you are here on Ghosts in the Mountains, other than just, you know, you and I being old compadres from back in the day.
Yeah, so long time listener, first time caller.
Long time caller, first time listener.
Yeah, I was born and raised here, South Asheville. And
people that are even fans of Three Doors might not even know that you're from Asheville.
Yeah, grew up here, right down the road actually, and
like a stone's throw from here.
Yeah, I went to high school like
we could
right
walk
down
there.
here. Yeah, we could walk.
We
there
could literally walk there from here.
Yeah, I don't want to, but we could.
Yeah,
but I
do
went to elementary, middle, and high school right here.
That is so funny.
Like all my schooling was right there.
You know what's weird? I only ever went to TC one time when I was playing pit percussion with the marching band. Only time I ever went there, once.
Yeah, I never went to Inca, so
which is weird because like if you think about it, as the crow flies, I might actually be slightly closer to TC than I was Inca.
Yeah, you're actually pretty close to this district being right over there.
If 26 just wasn't so unpredictable. But anyway, sorry I keep interrupting, but go ahead.
Yeah, grew up here, played music in church, played music in local bands, and, you know, that's how we met forever ago.
Our bands, we didn't play a lot of shows together, but we always were crossing paths. And I think one of the only shows we really played together outside of like maybe that high noon thing at UNCA was both our bands played at Ground Zero one night.
Yeah,
in Spartanburg,
I remember that.
And that was it.
Yeah,
it was like one of the only times. Super weird.
Yeah, I guess that was. There's got to be like a Fairview Community Center show or something that we did.
Yeah,
too.
probably so.
There's always there's skate park thing or There's all. I mean, it was a small music community. Anyways,
it was just a long time ago, so it's hard to remember.
Yeah, so many beers ago.
It was.
But yeah, we palled around, knew a ton of people in the industry in the music scene here together. That everybody was either in bands or starting bands or fighting in bands or like. It was just kind of that.
There was a lot of fighting in bands.
Small town shit. But yeah, played music, worked all sorts of different jobs here. Always had a passion for music, entertaining, and kind of the artistry side of stuff. Like I was doing leather work or woodworking, and always had my hands busy doing something like that. And
yeah, you and my mom became really good buddies.
Yeah, I used to go down to Jackson's all the time and go visit with her and old Otter.
Yep.
Working down there and get advice on leather working when I was really getting into it. And
yeah, I don't know how much I've talked about that on the podcast, but my mom's been a leather worker downstairs at Jackson's over there in that big, crazy, whatever the interstate is doing over there next to the Smoky Park Bridge. But my mom's been over there for, God, it's got to be 20 years at this point.
Yeah, because that was almost 20 years ago when I was going down there learning.
Yeah.
So when she was well established down there.
Yeah. Time flies, man.
Yeah, but I used to go hang out down there all the time, just kind of watch them work and learn stuff and pick up on things and then take it home and try to make something myself.
Yeah, Ma still speaks very fondly of you, brother.
Yeah, you gotta tell her I said hello.
I will. She might be listening right now.
Yeah, so I was always, doing stuff. And in that time, too, kind of relevant to the subject matter of the podcast, I love history. It's something that I've always been like very interested in. Love reading about it, especially when we travel so much. I'm always going to museums or going to these places, and with history, it's like completely connected with hauntings and the paranormal. Like you can't go anywhere that has like a historical thing without someone being like, "Oh, it's haunted."
Dude, you're no slouch with that stuff. I mean, there's been some times at a bonfire or whatever, we'll be hanging out and you're like spitting the facts. I'm like, good Lord, dude. Like your brain is kind of a steel trap for that stuff. That's why we got to get you on one of the episodes where Austin's here too, because you guys could just be riffing forever.
Yeah, I would love that. And that's like, obviously I'm excited because it's, one of my best friends doing this podcast, but really listening to it, like I got addicted to it because I've been driving so much. I've listened to like 30 episodes and just super impressed and very proud of you guys and the way that like it's fun, it's entertaining. It's not just, here's some hokey ghost story and like, please subscribe. Like,
thanks, man.
The history that you guys are putting in there that Austin does with all the research is really great. It's like real stuff. And there's so many things. I'm like, man, I didn't know that. That's so cool. Like growing up here, like you just had no idea where some of this stuff came from.
That's the thing about Austin, which is so just he's such a badass. But the thing about him is like if he wants to find out some deep dirt on something and he's got the time, because we both still work jobs while we're trying to do this, but he will straight go down to the old records and he will literally be looking at microfilm. I don't know. I don't know. He'll be looking at the microfiche. Like I don't know a single person that will like put in the time. And it's like when we were doing some of the investigation stuff about the whole Cherokee Little People thing. I mean, he was going to Cherokee to like find the lore and be as respectful as he possibly could. But like see if anybody was willing to talk about that stuff. So he is just an incredible boon to everything that we do around here. So next time you come on, he'll be around. I promise.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'm sad he's not here.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's been great listening to that aspect of it. Like I said, I love the history. I've been very blessed with the job that I do, getting to travel the world as much as I have, and kind of go experience some of that firsthand. Especially like cutting all over Europe. We spend a ton of time in Europe, and even going across Canada and all over our country. Just the history here is amazing. It's not as old as some of the other places with like established, but there's people have been here for a very long time.
Oh,
and, if you look for it, there's just amazing stories and lore and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's fascinating. Something that's always fascinated me. So,
yeah, man.
Yeah. So I was always into that stuff, always working, doing different jobs here. And then about 13 years ago, I got the opportunity to take over playing bass for Three Doors Down, and been touring the world ever since with them and putting out records and traveling, doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and living in Nashville, Tennessee now, and do my own country stuff and start getting into the silverwork side of things and traveling, kind of running with that. So
yeah,
that's the short version.
Your solo stuff on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever, it's just Justin Biltonen.
Yeah, it's just my name.
Spell your last name for the audiences so they can make sure they can find you.
Cool. It's Biltonen. I'm the only one. I'm the only Justin Biltonen in the world. So
the only dude.
It's a weird last name, but I just keep it because.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's unique. I've never known another Biltonen.
Yeah, there's only a handful of us.
I thought when we first met, I thought it was Bilton. I didn't know that there was an extra N on there.
It's that weird Finnish N-E-N thing. You see a lot of hockey players with.
Is that where? Do you know where it comes from?
From Finland.
Okay.
Dad's side of the family is Finnish and German.
Okay.
They came over in the early 1900s, and as far as we can tell, like I've been to Helsinki, Finland.
Yeah.
Talking to different people there and stuff. They're like, we don't use a B in a Finnish name.
Right.
So we think it was something else, maybe Piltonen or Viltonen, like that's two that they use.
That sounds about.
And then I guess when my great-great-grandparents came over, they changed it to a B to, I'm sure, try to sound more like Americanized or something. Or that, you never knew with that stuff with people. If whoever is taking the notes may wrote it down wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like notoriously the Ulysses S. Grant name, like somebody accidentally wrote down S at West Point, and he was just like, okay, I guess that's my name now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my middle name's Sylvester. Well, dude, over the years that you and I have been able to hang out, you've been gracious enough to, get me and Austin from the podcast, tickets to come out to Cherokee and see you guys play there at the casino. And those have always been incredible performances, man. You know, Three Doors, you guys straight just throw down every time I see you. I'm blanking on your guitar player's name that came and hung out with us in Waynesville that night.
That was Chris.
Chris, yeah, okay. He was so awesome.
Yeah,
He
great guy.
came down to Frog Level in Waynesville. This was right after Three Doors had played the benefit concert there in Harrah's. And you had asked my super hungover ass to come out and play a couple of songs on the mandolin. And that was a fun time, man.
That was a blast. We had all the
super
fans that were at the show came and like packed that place out, and it was down on the river outside in the fall.
Yeah, dude.
Like that was probably one of my favorite shows I've done in a while.
There was a lot of reasons why that particular show was super fun. Weather was incredible. That back area there at Frog Level is amazing. Getting to play with you on some of your, solo stuff, which I think that was the first time we'd ever performed any of your solo stuff together, if I'm not mistaken.
You've played on recording.
Yeah, I played mandolin on, it's one of your bigger songs on Spotify, The Highway.
She's Got the Highway.
Yeah, She's Got the Highway. And it was just so fun because, Chris from Three Doors comes out and he just rolls in the place. We end up talking about like Unknown Henson for like an hour and a half. Super, super sweet guy. And then after that, I think like most people are just so worn out and tired from like staying up the night before at the casino and hanging out with the band. And we just hang out in a parking lot and just have a couple of beers, just talking shit. Your buddy Jimmy, the photographer, is there. Your buddy Matt, who we're going to talk about a little bit later, because Matt, I don't know if Matt knows. Well, I guess Matt does know this, but yeah, Matt, you were the instigator of a pretty bizarre paranormal occurrence. So you're baked into the crust on this one, brother. But yeah, Matt was super cool. He gave Micah like a ring.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude,
he's a silversmith too, and like a anthropologist, but on the side.
I just laughed because we are all five of us just out there in cowboy hats that night. It
was cold too. We all had like random jackets on, and, like drinking parking lot beers.
Oh man,
that was a great night.
That was fantastic. And so I've come to visit you in Nashville a couple of times. Heck, it was your birthday just a few weeks ago, and
4-0.
The missus and I rolled down to Nashville, and what we didn't know when we got into the mechanism of downtown Nashville was that a giant UFC fight was letting out, so the streets were flooded.
It's always something. It's always something down there.
It's always something down there. But typically by this point in the podcast, we're laying deep into the creepy paranormal, whatever. Or actually, most of the time we're really going into the history stuff. But dude, it's not every day that I get to interview not only a good buddy, but somebody that is like a legitimate touring famous rock star. What is it like being able to do that? That's got to be really wild. The only other time that I ever felt kind of like a rock star, it's not the only other time, but it was the only time that you and I got to feel like that together. We played Bayfest. Dude, that was really wild. We played like this. Oh, that was the night Reba McEntire saw my nipples.
Yeah.
We played like the same festival as Motley Crue. Didn't they play the same stage we were on?
I don't know if it was that night. They might have.
Yeah.
But our night was the artist that we played for.
Yeah.
And then Clay Walker.
Yeah.
And then Lady Antebellum.
Yeah.
And then Reba.
I remember seeing Lady Antebellum backstage. But dude, yeah, you were right next to me when Reba McEntire saw my nipples.
Yeah.
And I don't tell this story all the time. I've never told it on the podcast before, but look, here's the thing. We're down at Bayfest in Mobile, Alabama. I'd had a couple of beers. Reba is in her second performance of Fancy of the set. And I was like, the time is right. So I'm being kind of silly, and I just, pull my shirt up, and Reba's eyes lock with my nipples, and it is what it is. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Sorry to interrupt, but I thought that the listeners really needed to know that. But yeah, man. So your first show with Three Doors Down is Moscow. Am I correct?
Yeah.
That is so insane.
Yeah, we rehearsed for about 2 weeks in Nashville, and then started a European tour, and it was Moscow and St. Petersburg. So the first 2 days of the show.
For the most part, you've put in your time, and you've been on the road with national touring acts, but nothing to the size and scale of something like a Three Doors concert. What is going through your mind when you take the stage in Moscow for the first time with the band?
There's not a lot going. It was one of those things I just kind of like blanked, and like I was playing, and like I feel like I just kind of like left my body for a second. It was like the biggest thing I'd ever done.
Sure.
Like, musically, like I had in-ear monitors. There's this huge crowd. I'm like, and it was one of those things that if I went out there and was terrible, I would have been going home. So, it's just on that professional level, like, no offense, buddy, like,
you
can't
just
play.
you just don't have what it takes. You're gone.
Yeah, so there's always, that little bit of self-doubt. Like, no matter how practiced up you are. Now, I don't have that. But that first thing, I was like, oh, crap. Like, what if I walk out here and just, like, freeze up? But I didn't. And we had a really fun show. And afterwards, like, we're all talking, everybody's high-fiving. It was like, great, let's do this. We got a whole month in Europe. This is going to be fun.
Dope.
And it was on from there.
Yeah, I mean, like, the other bands that you had played with, you guys played to some pretty big crowds.
Yeah, we've had some festivals that had 100 and something thousand people in it, and
so I mean,
all sorts of crazy stuff.
It's a fairly large incremental jump to that point, but it wasn't something that was just like so intensely foreign to you.
Yeah.
But I definitely understand the pressure being on, and I mean. What's weird is like I have insecurities about stupid stuff like going to the grocery store. I hate it. Can't stand it. It freaks me out. You put me on stage in front. I mean, dude, when we played in Mobile, Alabama, there was a ton of people there.
Yeah, it was a big festival.
I don't even know. I'm super bad with estimating like how many people are in a space or whatever. But there's a lot of people. Yeah. But you saw me. I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's a different, like sometimes different thing with that. You just get up there and you're like, well, let's go.
Yeah.
It energizes you in a different way, especially now, like after doing it for so long.
Yeah.
People are always like, oh, do you get nervous? I'm like, no, it's a different kind of thing. It's like a excitement.
Yeah.
Like you get out there and like you're amped up, like, getting ready to go put on a show. This is fun.
Music and live performance, I think, is something that you and I have done for so long. For me, it is probably the place that I'm most comfortable because when I'm on stage, even though I don't really love performing live all that much anymore, I like more being behind the scenes and recording and mixing music. But when I'm on stage, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I've done this. I know what I'm doing. I'm not worried about messing up because I put in the how many ever hours of practice into this crap. It's not. And even if I do mess up, I'm like, I kind of know how to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah. You get to a point where like, if you do, you just kind of laugh it off and it's part of the experience. Like,
yeah. So, well, dude, I mean, it's so cool. And it's been so cool a couple of times that me and the brother Micah, and then, gosh, was that right before Helene that we saw you guys? Or was that a year prior to that?
That was about the year prior to it. So,
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess, a year or so ago, whenever when me, Micah, and Austin all came out there, I mean, man, you guys put on such a great show. And it's a cool thing. I always appreciate you guys getting us the VIP, letting us sit up in the balconies like Palpatine and Anakin Skywalker. All right. Now that the listeners have listened to us ramble for a little while about the rock and roll thing, I thought that would be kind of fun just because ain't every day you get to hear from somebody that just gets to experience that side of, there's not a lot of people that get to see that. But, this is Ghosts in the Mountains, so we better start talking about some ghosts. So, dude, you are of a bit of a Native American background, are you not?
Yeah, on my mom's side.
Yeah, on your mom's side.
Yeah.
And hey, Mama, how you doing? Hope you're listening.
She, her and Dad have been listening to the podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think they got really into listening to radio stuff and listening to the podcast whenever like Helene happened and power was out and nobody had internet and all that kind of stuff. They were really got into doing that instead of watching TV. So I know they've listened to Micah's program before. And,
oh, nice.
I got them listening to y'all.
Well, I appreciate that.
They love this stuff too.
Right. Yeah. Well,
not as hardcore as your parents, but they do enjoy history and a good story, especially if it's local.
Well, to Mama and Papa Biltonen, howdy, and thanks for listening. Miss you guys. I'm sure we'll get together at some point soon. So, dude, you and I have always been very, very interested in the paranormal, but I would kind of say that the experiences that you and I personally have had firsthand with paranormal stuff is relatively few and far between.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in saying that?
Even with like going to haunted places and all that kind of stuff, like I've never seen like a full body apparition.
Yeah, I never have either.
Like a lot of that stuff, I don't know if I fully, like buy into with some of this stuff, but I think there is some aspects of the spirit realm that make themselves known at different times.
See, yeah, and that's kind of the big question ever since Austin and I started doing this. I think that we both have kind of always had somewhat of an evolving outlook on what we think at the end of the day all of this is. I think there's potentially a lot of different things that it could be. One of them being psychological manifestations of predisposed ideology in one's brain. But then again, there are so many different reports of people seeing things like full-bodied apparitions to where there are so many reports you can't look at all of the evidence and just go, it's just mass hallucination.
Yeah, I think it's just lazy to just completely dismiss all of it.
I agree.
I find it lazy. People just like completely dismiss the idea of God or dismiss ghosts, like any kind of thing that it's like, oh no, I'm too smart for that. I'm dismissing this. And it's like, all right, cool, but like,
I think, I agree.
It sucks.
I find it kind of boring for it just to be that
Yeah.
reality is what we're experiencing at face value right now, and there's nothing else to it.
Yep.
Even though there's been a ton of people for as long as humanity has existed that tend to say that they've seen things that point to that not being the case.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the first things that you and I ever talked about where I was like, well, this is really interesting because although you and I have looked into paranormal stuff for a very long time, I had never really heard you tell me firsthand that you had experienced something paranormal until very shortly after we hung out with your buddy Matt there in the parking lot and your buddy Jimmy, the photographer. Jimmy is a great guy. I've only gotten to hang with you a handful of times, but I'm just going to say, if you're listening, you'll remember when I call you Jimmy. It's the only way I say Jimmy's name. Love you, brother. Hope you're doing well. But you told me this real wild story. Now, you make jewelry.
Yep.
You're out there with your buddy Matt. Where are you at?
We were probably about 30 minutes outside of Santa Fe.
Okay.
And Matt's like, this story is not his fault.
But it is. It's your fault, Matt.
So me and Matt and his girlfriend Rebecca, she's also a silversmith. We all have our jewelry in a gallery in Santa Fe called Maloof's down on the plaza. So get out to Santa Fe quite a bit, which I love. It's one of my favorite little towns. It's New Mexico's gorgeous. Tons of history out there. People have been inhabiting that place for thousands of years. And there's a place called Sunkawi that's about 30 minutes out of town, and they call it like a outdoor living museum kind of thing. And it was cliff dwellings from the Anasazi, which I think were about 7,000 years old.
Right.
I've been to a million national parks all over the country, state and national parks. Me and Brad, our singer from Three Doors, we love hiking, so me and him always get out and we'll rent a car and go drive somewhere on a day off. And we've hiked all over the place. I've hiked Alaska, like all sorts of different places.
That's amazing, man.
That is the first place I've ever been to where you're walking around, there's just pottery everywhere. Shards of pottery. Yeah, like Anasazi pottery. It's painted. It's 6,000-7,000 years old. It's incredible. And you leave it there. You can pick it up, take pictures, all that kind of stuff. You just put it back where it was. There's obsidian all over the place from making tools.
Yeah.
And it's cliff dwelling. So you go in and you can like kind of crawl in, and the ceilings are still black from cook fires. It's a magical place. As soon as you get there, like you can feel the history, and you just hike through. The state built these ladders like they would have had back then when it was inhabited that take you to each level of the cliff face until you get to the top, and then the top was like kind of the city center.
Yeah.
It's just incredible history. Everywhere you're walking is like, whoa, like just insane stuff. It's absolutely gorgeous. So the whole time we're walking around being very respectful, as we always are when we go to any of those sites, and, pray, ask for permission to be there kind of stuff. It's just something I like doing. And wonderful time. And then we went a little further out to just some little sand arroyos. It was a dry riverbed, and went hiking through there because they'd seen different things back through there. And Matt was telling me there's these Paleolithic antelope antler bones that you can pick up sometimes, and the inside, the marrow, is like crystallized black.
Huh.
And when you cut them up, you can polish them like a stone, and then you can make cool jewelry out of them. So we're kind of looking for those. I'm keeping my eyes out. he hands me 4 or 5 of these like pretty good size, like bleach white bones. And he's like, these are some of those antlers. This is really cool. We can use these. I'm like, cool. No longer on like a sacred site of dwellings. It's just, you know, this dry riverbed. It's like, oh, these are, you know, antelope bones.
Yeah,
I'm like,
as
okay.
far as you know.
Stick them in my backpack. We're hiking up. We're, you know, going over these hills. We're looking. We find some more pottery, just huge pieces, like absolutely stunning. You know, take pictures, put them back. Just always very respectful of those sacred sites. You know, all different indigenous people have different beliefs about older sites like that. Like
Sure.
whether or not they go or don't, like depending on their superstitions about the area. But beautiful day, had a blast. We went to this awesome restaurant like right down the road. And I'd been staying in the same place, downtown Santa Fe, for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Slept my ass off every night. We had great time. Like, it was quiet, beautiful, clean. Never felt anything weird in that place at all. So I've stayed there 2 different times. Awesome time. This was the last night. So get back to the hotel. It's early. It's like 9:30, 10, something like that. I'm flying out the next day, so kind of calling it early. And just put my backpack in the bedroom and got dressed and ready and went to bed and had the TV on laying there and turned the TV off and went. I think it had to have been maybe 11 or 12, like nothing super late. And I'm trying to go to sleep and I'm just so uneasy. And I don't know why. I was like anxious, uneasy, so uncomfortable, finally fall asleep, wake up like 30 minutes later. And it was that cycle all night. In and out of sleep. I'm having like kind of funky dreams. Like I don't remember exactly what they were. It wasn't anything nefarious, but I just felt really uncomfortable. And then at one point I kind of woke up and I felt like something was kind of near the bed. It wasn't like a person. It was just a thing. It was just a feeling that was kind of at the edge of the bed where my backpack was. And it's just like this heavy, uncomfortable feeling. I kept waking up, kept trying to fall asleep. I was like, I got to fly out tomorrow. This is going to suck.
Yeah.
It's like, what is wrong? I was like, did I have too much caffeine and was keeping me up? And that wasn't it. I just so uneasy. Finally fell asleep for a little bit, like startled awake at one point. And I remember looking at my phone. It was like 5 a.m. I was like, damn, I'm going to have to get up at like 8 to get ready to like go to the airport.
Yeah.
As I'm laying there, the TV turns on.
Oh God.
And I'm like, I was like, that is too weird, too creepy. Like it never did anything like that the whole time I was in there. It just turned on to like a blue channel. No channel. It was just like
that's always
the blue
fun.
sky. I was like, oh, this is so weird. And something just always like, I think one of those bones isn't an antelope.
Right.
And I took him out of my backpack and I was like, I'm taking you back tomorrow. And I put him by the front door.
But did you not hear some clickety clackety stuff going on at one point?
I did. I heard.
Am I jumping the gun here?
Heard a little. It wasn't like bones rattling, but it sounded like something was kind of moving, scraping together. Maybe like I can't really describe it because I don't want to like over describe it and make it sound like something was like clackety clackety.
Yeah,
the bones.
Yeah,
like,
you just described to me when we were talking about this for the first time is just there was something like a shuffling-esque sound going on.
Yeah, and I think that was part of like what was kind of near the bed that I was kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And the only way I could describe it, and like the next day when I took him back to Matt and I was like, hey, like, cause they were going hiking the next day out there. I was flying out and I took those bones and was like, please take these back.
Yeah.
And he was like, why? I was like, these things made way too much noise last night.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way I could describe it. It wasn't like I was looking at them, they're clacking together. It was like there was just like it was almost like a white noise kind of thing. Like it's tough to describe. Like I just knew that's what that was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything nefarious. It wasn't like here's this apparition of somebody like, ooh, you disturbed my sleep, like my tooth or whatever it was. But something was not happy that it was in that room. And then when I took those bones, put them by the door and said, I'm taking you back, it was like somebody let the air out of the room. It was like, whew.
Wow.
I turned the TV off. I laid down, went straight to sleep. And it was like just the intention of being like, hey, I'm putting these back. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to move this. It was like, they were like, okay.
Right.
Whatever it was like, okay, cool.
Well, so when you and I first were talking about this, maybe I am misremembering, but I kind of remember you kind of saying, there being this energy at the foot of the bed, which you mentioned. But maybe I just interpreted this, which went into the lens of what happens later on, as it almost being like somewhat like shadow entity-esque. But I think that when you were telling me about this before, you were talking about when you were kind of going in and out of the dream state, that maybe like...
Yeah, I think like the dreams were definitely kind of
overlapping a little bit.
It was the most like uneasy sleep that I've had in years. Like I don't think I was ever like fully falling asleep. I was like kind of in and out of this thing. It was just something was very uneasy at that point. And really like the only thing I really felt was like that whatever was at the edge of the bed, like just felt like something was there. And it didn't feel like there was a person standing there. Like, at that point when I was feeling that, like the sun was coming up a little bit, like it wasn't like pitch black in the room. It was like, I don't know. It's tough to describe that part that was there.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's like, well, if you're in a room with somebody and they're in like a bad mood or they're in a funk, there's just this, we're social creatures. There's just this tenseness to the whole situation. Yeah. You can just pick up on it. It's like when a TV's on in a room and you just know, there's just like, you just feel it. And
I think tension is a good way to put that because there was like tension in the room and then the TV came on and I was done at that point.
I don't feel like I am the most perceptive person to, if you want to call it paranormal activity. Yeah. But when you have a situation where there is just this, I don't know, just tenseness to a place, you can pick up on that. I've been in a lot of places that are kind of historical and I'm just like, yeah, I ain't feeling this. And I don't even really necessarily look at that as this, oh, this place is haunted. Yeah. I almost never look at it that way. I just walk into a place and some places feel just like, ooh, it's got a nice energy to it. Some places just feel really weird and really off. Yeah, you can pick up the vibe. I get it from people a lot. Like I'm not going to say I'm like a sensitive medium and I can tell, I don't, definitely not that, but I pick up on certain energies and stuff. And maybe it just comes from traveling and maybe traveling alone all the time. Like maybe it's like a self-preservation thing. If I go in bar or restaurant, someone comes in there mad, like I can instantly, I feel like, hey, this could turn into something volatile. Yeah, get out. Like you can kind of, I don't know if it's something you train or if it's just something you have. Like you kind of read people. Oh, and I think that's the same kind of like for energy and places. Like I've definitely gone somewhere and I've been like, not that it's haunted or something. I'm just like, I don't like whatever's going on in this space. Like I just need to not be in here. You know what's interesting about that too, though, is like, with human beings being as social creatures as we are, it's almost like in the event that what we are experiencing as ghosts or spectral entities or something like that, in the event that those are the somewhat passed on souls of human beings, it's almost like you go into a room and if somebody's not digging even that there's just people in the house, it's like you're picking up on them being like, I'm just really waiting for you guys to be gone. Yeah. Because if you think about it in the regard of you're in your house, you're in your boxers, you're trying to relax, you're trying to do your thing, and then people just walk in the front door and they're walking around your house and they're looking at stuff. Don't you think that you'd be kind of like, I'm not really vibing with this, and therefore your energy that you would be putting out? I mean, I almost wonder sometimes if it's as simple as that. Yeah. And we don't really understand how, if that's people in another dimension and somehow that energy is crossing over, or if it's legitimately just electrical pulses. I don't know. Either way. So that leads me to an experience that, oddly enough, one of the only other things that I've ever heard come out of your mouth that I thought was bordering on extraordinary in the realm of the paranormal, my ass just happens to be there one night. Yeah, it's your fault. It might have been. It might have been. To some people, I'm Spooky Mulder. To most people, Micah is. And I'm Mulder's spooky little brother. But the other paranormal thing I've had happen was with your brother. So it's something with you, too. Yeah, well. We are the Spookies. The Spookies. The Spookies. The Spookies. We're the Spooky Mulder brothers. But here's a wild thing. So Hurricane Helene hits. We've talked about that a lot on the podcast. We're coming up on 1 year very soon. My wife and I are without power for 16 days. And then your ass comes over one day. You're supposed to come over and the power comes back on. So when you step foot in this house for the first time, the power had been on for maybe 2 hours.
That's crazy.
After 16 days of not having power. That night, we go to a bonfire at your parents' place. And from my recollection, essentially, this is how it goes down. And I've got my theories as to why things went down the way they did. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But from my perspective, this is how things go down. It is mid-October at this point.
Yeah, it was almost exactly 2 weeks after
Yep.
the flooding. Because we were on the road. We finished our last show
Yep.
that Saturday of like the initial flood.
So we go over to your parents' place. It's a cool fall evening. It's beautiful. Sky is clear. And at one point, you go grab some firewood. When you come back, you put the firewood over there next to the fire and you pull out matches, but not any kind of matches. What is this stuff you're burning?
It's a Palo Santo.
Palo Santo.
It's like a sacred wood that
Smells very good.
smells great. It's beautiful, but it's also kind of like a spiritual cleansing thing.
Sure, it's kind of in league
Yeah.
with sage.
Yeah, so like you burn sage to, cleanse an area of negative spirits or negative energy, and then you burn the Palo Santo to bring in the positive.
Right. So it was really interesting because, you and I, we talk about this stuff, but as soon as you came back down to the fire and I see you open that box and you start lighting them.
I was burning the Palo Santo already when I walked back there. I had it in my hand burning.
Right. Well, there you go. So I even ask you, I look at you at one point and I say, are you burning that for the smell or are you burning that for a reason? And you just very quietly said, for a reason.
Yeah. I didn't really want to say like the reason to mom and dad at the time.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's their house. I didn't want to like freak them out.
Yeah. And then, at one point your parents go back in the house and I say, hey, so why are you burning this? And I'll let you tell your side of the story.
Yeah. So, again, I don't want to make this sound like it was like, I think it was a ghost or something. I think there was some kind of negative thing. So, you and Charlotte, my mom and dad were in the back at the fire. We were all sitting around talking, kind of decompressing from the day. Cause I think everybody, especially with that, everybody kind of been telling stories and everything that happened. And,
yeah, the hurricane's super fresh.
yeah, kind of it was 2 weeks after. So everybody's very much still in it. I'd driven over from Nashville. I was like, getting the story, all that kind of stuff. And, go to get some firewood cause the firewood was in the front yard. Parents have a big gated fenced in yard that it's always been there at the house. It's like probably about a 7-foot just chain link fence that's been around the property. Always has been. It's got a big gate and opens and closes, and it was closed. Dad's always like, doomsday prepper about that gate. Like
You have to be a pole vaulter to get over that damn thing.
And everybody that gets like, as soon as everybody's at the house, he goes over and locks it up, and he's always been like that. So my truck was parked out. And then right next to it is the 65 Galaxy that me and him have been working on forever.
Beautiful car.
Yeah.
Your pops has some killer cars.
Yeah.
He has let me sit in those with him, drink a beer, and we just listen to the damn things just purr, man. They're beautiful.
Yeah, he's got a great truck and a cool Mustang, and they're piling up out there. But I went up, like a little woodshed thing was kind of over to the left of the cars. So it was like my truck, the Galaxy, the gate was on the one side, and then there's a little tree, and then the firewood shed thing. And I was knelt down. I was picking up the firewood. Like in the backyard, you can't hear anybody back there. Like if you're sitting back around the fire, it's around the back of the house in the backyard. So it's not like everybody's open, can see each other. When you go to the front, it's the front of the house,
you're basically
back
cut
up.
off.
Yeah. So I'm knelt down, I'm picking up wood, and I hear what sounded like something specific, like slapping metal, like the side of a door on a car. It was like a big metal thunk. And I glanced, like just shot over and looked where it came from. And as soon as I looked right at my truck, I see this like kind of black figure drop down in between my truck and the Galaxy, and I just froze because I was like, holy shit, somebody's over there. Somebody hopped the fence. They knew we were over here. Somebody's coming to rob. Like, I legitimately thought it was a person over there.
Yeah.
And I just froze and, was just hyper listening, staring over there, like waiting to hear the gravel start moving, if somebody trying to sneak around the car or something. Like, I was ready, like, holy shit, like, that's something over there. And I sat down, I was knelt down holding that firewood for, I don't know how long. I was just staring, waiting. And then finally, like, stood up and kind of looked around, trying to see around the side of the car, and then, like, kind of ran over there real quick to see if there was somebody over, and there was nobody around the truck.
Yeah.
And I just instantly had this, like, awful, uneasy feeling, which I'd had all day. I would, took some stuff to donate out in Swannanoa. I was kind of around a lot of those kind of ground zero areas, like doing anything I could donate or trying to find some way to plug in and help out. And it was just...
You'd seen the town that you grew up in a state in which you had never seen it. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't think that what you experienced was just you kind of coming off from seeing this stuff. As intense as it was, I got my own theories about it, but I don't think that you were hallucinating what you saw personally.
No, I don't think it was. I've never seen anything like, even with the, the bone thing, like I said, it's more unease and like, what I described was kind of like a white noise, kind of feel like it was just this bad energy in there that was not great. That was something that I physically saw.
Yeah.
And
I could tell that you were legitimately spooked by this.
It spooked me out like pretty good.
I'm not trying to boost this up for the podcast for everybody at home. I am not kidding around when I say I have never in my life seen you just get quiet, get kind of small and reserved in a social situation like that. You're not like doing cartwheels to begin with, but you just sunk for a minute. And I was like, and then you start burning those. I'm like, dude, something is up. I would never seen you like that, man.
I think it was a lot of it too was just like kind of everything in the day hit me. And then once I kind of started thinking what I thought it was like, I really think it was some kind of like negative attachment. I don't think it was a ghost. I think it was just some kind of negative manifestation of everything that I'd seen all day, driving around, being in those areas.
I got my own theories about it.
Yeah.
But
I'd love to hear.
Sure. Yeah.
But, so whenever once I realized it wasn't a human over there, still felt uneasy, but I had, I always kind of travel with the sage and Palo Santo. I always just kind of have it with me. And,
smells so good.
I just decided, I was like, if this is some kind of negative attachment, like I just lit the sage, I walked around the whole truck in the yard in the front and burned the sage and prayed and did all that. And then did the Palo Santo out there and then brought it back in the backyard and rejoined the group.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't want it, I eventually told mom and dad about it because it was just freaky, but I also didn't want them to think like, the house is haunted or I thought it was something there. It was definitely something I think was like not necessarily connected to me, but the situation, like everywhere I'd been, like it just felt, but as soon as I, did all the other cleansing stuff, it felt better. It didn't feel great, but I didn't feel like anything was like standing over me, which I've had happen one other time, which I don't really want to talk about on here, but,
all right.
Did kind of the same thing and it went away. But I feel like the only time I've really, other than the UFO, the paranormal stuff that I've seen has been like kind of a negative attachment. I think that's, something totally different than, here's the Civil War ghost that shows up on my back porch every day because he thinks he's reporting for duty. And like the movie reel kind of ghost thing. I think there's,
You're talking about like kind of like the electrical imprint thing that just replays.
Yeah, not like the history place where it's like, here's this spooky thing that kind of walks by and she's in antebellum clothing and you're like, oh, that's old Annie. She died on the property because her love never came back from the war.
You wouldn't believe how many of those stories we've run into.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of them. And they're great. I love it. Like I've loved listening to podcasts here and all those stories. 'Cause everybody in the country has those stories kind of connected and I love kind of talking about those archetypes of all that kind of stuff with storytelling. fascinating to me.
How about this? Let's take a short break, and then when we come back, I'll kind of tell you my perception, which could be just, it's just my damn opinion. It doesn't really matter. But I thought it was kind of interesting because you and I really haven't talked all that much about that particular evening since then, which I think now is kind of a great opportunity to do so. So yeah, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to dive a little bit more into not just Justin's wild, whatever these entities are that he has experienced, not just those stories. We're going to talk about that, maybe some other paranormal occurrences, and, well, that pesky ass UFO that you, Micah, and Matt Hickson, who has also been on the podcast, saw one night.
The third part.
Part 3, the final chapter with Justin Biltonen. Justin Biltonen. There's another part on there. I had just run out of breath. That was not a mess up. Either way, thanks again for listening, and we will return very shortly. Well, good evening once again, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Ghosts in the Mountains. Man, this has been a long time coming, and we're finally here. I am here once again with my good buddy, Justin Biltonen. He's cracking open a Boojum beer tonight to celebrate being here in the mountains of Western North Carolina, which you aren't always in, man. You're a Nashville guy now. You've been a Nashville guy for quite a good long while, but hey, how's that Boojum beer treating you?
It's fantastic. It's a Hounds of Hellas. Is that how they say it? Hounds of Hells? I know.
Let me see it.
Hellas. I think that's the name of the beer.
Hounds of Hellas?
That's the type of beer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Crafty fellas.
They're crafty. I love Boojum. I keep threatening that I'm going to show the listeners a slightly incriminating video of me singing I believe in a thing called Love by the Darkness at karaoke down at the Boojum Brewery on Halloween one night.
Hey, Boojum, I want to know when you guys are going to do the Ghosts in the Mountains edition beer.
That would be, oh my God.
It's basically just a Guinness.
Would it have to be a Goza?
Goza in the Mountains.
I mean,
Gozas are gross, though.
I actually do like a Goza. I just never drink them because I drink Guinness and I can't not drink Guinness.
Guinness is the sponsor of the show, so you got to...
Dude, if we got a Guinness sponsorship, I'd be the happiest person on planet Earth. Guinness, I don't talk too much about it on the show, but people know that I definitely am having a Guinness most of the time when we record, and it's just, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I'm also a huge Guinness fan, as Caleb knows.
Yeah.
Absolutely crush these damn things.
We were having some Guinness over there in Nashville for your 30th. 30th. It's a mix between your 30th and 40th. Yeah, dude. And then we went into, as we were saying on the break, the Belly of the Beast. Which was downtown Nashville. And man, one thing I never get tired of going to Nashville is just how incredibly talented every band on Broadway is. It's just absurd. It's absurd the talent that is in that town.
That's why everybody went there, is to either,
to not play LA prices or
yeah, to not, we got no state income tax, was great.
Huge.
That's like it's a mecca of great music, or people, not even just great music, but people that are driven in this industry.
100%.
And, it's got its downsides. You get pretty jaded on the place, just like everywhere else. But
but if you're going to get out there and be somebody, that's a place to be.
And you don't even have to necessarily stay there forever, but like learning how to songwrite, getting better at your instrument, it's a really good place to be. So if you got anybody that, is listening that's a aspiring artist of any time, just, come check Nashville out.
Well, dude, the thing about it is, like, I think if if things had gone differently with my music career and I had wanted different things and I had ended up just being like, you were going, we were talking about stuff, you had somehow convinced my ass to move down there, maybe I'd be in a different place.
Yeah.
But one thing about it is like, I kind of like pretending to be just the most watered down version of Art Bell. If Art Bell was just not talented at radio at all, this is basically who I am at this point. But, you know, you and I have played some shows together in Nashville. Yeah. We played the House of Blues down there at the end of Broadway together.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild to think about now?
I totally forgot about that. Yeah,
well, I did too. It's kind of tucked back in the back of my head. But
it's the Hard Rock.
I'm sorry. That's right. The Hard Rock.
They've got that little stage upstairs.
And that's like right next to the river, right?
Yeah, it's down on South Broad.
Yeah, very into Broadway.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's kind of wild that you and I have played in
Lower Broadway. I can't remember what
I don't even know what they call it anymore.
Lower.
But it's pretty dope that that we've got a couple things marked off the bucket list that we've been able to do together. Yeah, it's funny. It's that whole that little stint of shows that we played were such a blur.
Yeah,
I hardly even think about it anymore. But
we weren't drinking a lot.
Well, there's that too. So,
and we're also both part of the Warren Ghost Tour multiverse.
That is very true. One thing our listeners might not know is that even though I helped put together the Haunted Asheville Ghost Tour that was brought to you by Joshua P. Warren, I created the hauntedasheville.com, and it's still there, hauntedasheville.com artwork on that website with a pirated version of Photoshop when I was 16 years old. And it's still on the site there. But I was one of the first tour guides that ever gave Haunted Asheville ghost tours around town. But you and I were the fruit of the Illuminati. We were some of the first people that were ever involved with that. You had a very different role.
I had a very different role.
not too far after the thing got started, but okay, and I promise we'll get into what we were talking about before the break, the shadow entity. But real quick, will you describe to people what you used to do for the Haunted Asheville tour there?
So I can't even remember. That was so long ago, but I remember it vividly. But I was hanging out with Micah a lot. Me and him, like music. We'd all known each other from music, different stuff, and you guys kind of figured out I was into this paranormal stuff too, and really enjoyed it. And he brought me in, and all of us started hanging out with old Josh P. Warren.
Yeah.
And going over to his place, and I remember he had a laser that he was doing something with clouds one night, and we were just, drinking absinthe. And
those were the good old days, dude.
Yeah. Just getting into all the fun, spooky shit. And around that time, he teamed up with one of the Asheville trolley companies.
Them and Barley's.
Yep. And wanted to do a Asheville trolley tour, ghost tour.
Yeah.
And one of the aspects was live action ghosts.
Yeah.
And
he wanted the feel to essentially be a little bit more like a theme park ride.
Yeah, kind of Lezoom was jamming.
Yeah, exactly. I think he definitely was borrowing some vibe from Lezoom there.
So this was Ghost Lezoom, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was a lot of fun, but
for listeners at home that don't know what Lezoom is basically a traveling theater on a trolley that goes through town, and they've got different people planted in different ways. I believe we have talked about it on the podcast before, but it's very entertaining. It's super fun to be on there. Whoever's hosting it is usually a very exuberant human being, but yeah, Lezoom has been going on here for a long time. So
you can drink, it's history, it's funny,
yeah.
It was great. I did it when it first came out.
Still a staple here in town. Yeah.
You'll go downtown and see the nun on the bike.
The nun on the bike.
Dude that's a nun on a bike, and it's hilarious. But that was kind of the little bit of the concept.
But he stations your ass at Helen's Bridge, right?
Oh, I was all over. I was down in the cemetery in
Montford?
In Montford. They dropped me off in Montford. I was dressed as this ghoul. And I'm 6'4" anyways.
Yeah, you're a tall.
I'm in this full black cloak that is draped on the ground, and I guess part of that story is that there's these this ghoul with these red eyes. So I have this little electronic thing. When the trolley comes up, they're telling the story. I'm sitting on this bench with these tombstones. I've been sitting there for 15 minutes anyways, just sitting in a graveyard by myself dressed as a ghoul. Like all the ghosts around him are like, who is this dumb? And I'm just sitting there by myself, like, what am I doing? Well, I had this little electronic thing, and I'd stand up and be like, don't go there. And then like turn the ghoul eyes on as these red eyes would come on.
You're like,
ghoul mask.
you don't want to go down that road.
Yeah. Do not seek the treasure. So then the trial would come up and like kids would be like, ah. And then somebody would pick me up and take me over to the area where Zelda Fitzgerald passed away.
Oh, yeah, near the Highland Hospital.
Yeah. So there was a house there that I guess was part of that supposedly had like these like leather straps to keep people from jumping off the third floor or something, because it was part of the sanitarium,
yeah, I believe so.
It was part of that. So
one of those Metallica songs.
Yeah, one of those Metallica songs. So I'm dressed as some other ghoul. They drop me off, and like 10 minutes later, here comes the trolley, and I come walking out on the porch like, whoa. And they pick me up, take me up to Helen's Bridge. Just I'm dressed as like a stable boy with a lantern coming down, telling them about the fire. I'm like got like some kind of mask on, so it's creepy.
Dude, I'm so sad that in retrospect that I didn't get to see you do that.
I'm surprised you didn't, because like there was a bunch of nights we get done and like, because I had several stations that they were dropping. I'll just sitting up there at Helen's Bridge by myself, like, what am I doing? Come running down, like, there's a fire, and like try to, beating on the trolley. And
you know what's so funny though? It's like, as much as I like the aspect of historical trolley tours and stuff like that, this sounds like something I would want to do now.
Oh yeah. I mean, if we had that in Nashville, it would slay. People would love it.
There's a gap in the market.
There's a gap in the market.
Here we go. Don't steal our idea, you sons of bitches.
But they, I'm dropped off in all these places, and I was on something on Church Street. There was like a story about a blind priest or something that comes running out, and that was like my last thing. So I come up and I've got this mask on, so it looks like I don't have eyes. And then I just get on the trolley and ride back with everybody. I'm like, cool. And I did that like pretty much all of October and part of November on that first year that they did that. And then afterwards we'd all like sit in a little trolley station, hang out and drink beer and talk about stuff. I never saw anything spooky while I was out there by myself in all these places, but
that's the thing. It was a lot of fun. Most of the time when you go looking for it, you don't find anything or,
I think all the ghosts were sitting up there like, look at this idiot.
Well,
he's freezing his ass off. What's this guy doing?
Hope he's getting a good paycheck. Well,
no,
we'll see. Time will tell. And by that, time has told. But, it
was an experience. It was a lot of fun.
And honestly, it's really interesting to think about your part in that because, Asheville has kind of like made its name as this haunted place, hence this frickin' podcast. And, obviously that aspect of the trolley tour was it was a fun thing. It was borderline theater. It was something to get you engaged in the stuff. It wasn't something that was just like, you get
some entertainment, some history, like something like that. It's
an event. It's something fun. But I think that it also, in some ways, although it was a little bit more of a theatric production, I think that it kind of opened the door for some people that were legitimately interested in looking into the paranormal investigation and history aspects of the things that have gone on in this town. So,
well, I think that's how I got into it as a kid, going down to Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah,
which is another like extremely famous haunted city.
Oh yeah,
that really embraces that aspect of their history. Like I think 100%. Being 9-10 years old and going on a ghost tour and Charleston, South Carolina, I was sold at that point. I wanted to be like a history tour guide. I wanted to ghost hunt. Like I was all about it. Like I think that those things definitely get people interested. Either they have some kind of crazy experience or they just get into the history. I think I more just love the history and lore and mystery of it. Like where did these stories come from?
Yeah.
Especially in some of those older places, they're based on real pirates that were there, real Civil War battles that were there. And it's kind of the same thing here. And every town has those kind of spooky stories, but not every town really like embraces it and kind of turns into like this like vortex of like weirdness.
Well, dude, I mean, like if you look at the episode that we did about Blackbeard the pirate, not a lot of people know that Blackbeard was killed off the coast of North Carolina. You know,
which is funny. I listened to that episode as I was driving out to the Outer Banks.
I know you just came from there. You texted me on the way there and you're like, maybe I'm going to see Blackbeard's ghost. But as you know, by the end of that episode, we kind of take a little bit of a different turn in the narrative of the idea of what the lights could have been.
Yeah.
And we essentially pushed that into UFO territory.
Yeah.
Which I think is just as exciting because, dude, the UFO activity that I've heard talked about on the coast of North Carolina is some batshit crazy stuff. I talk about it on that episode. I talk about a friend of mine that told me a very crazy story while he was fishing down there. Before we get into what is going to be the trifecta of one of the closest to home,
The third key.
but you know, I did have a UFO experience in the same area, which I talk about on that.
There's part of that story that I don't think they remember that you were involved in.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm
Which
into it.
I'll tell when we get to that.
Real quick before we get to that, I want to touch, as we promised after the break, I want to talk a little bit about what I think was going on with that shadow entity that you experienced at your parents' place. And look,
we're on a tangent, y'all. We're all over the place.
and this is how it's going to always be.
You can just edit it back in order.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Fix it in post.
So this is my take on it, and this is all speculative because I am not married to any theory.
Isn't all of it?
I mean, it has to be.
Yeah. That's why it's fun.
Yes. But I think that all of my theories in some way, shape, or form, and maybe I'm BSing right now, but I think a lot of them come from the human experience and the potential of the human experience going beyond what we know as, you know, being sentient and conscious and alive and biological. When you talked to me for the first time about that, well, I mean, that night, I went home just kind of thinking about it for a minute. And dude, I don't know if you know this. I think you do. But you have an energy about you where, number one, you're a very tall dude. You're hotter than the blazes of hell. I'm a straight man. But look, every time I used to go with you to the bars, I'd be like, yeah, I'm here too. Just, hello. I'm the guy that looks kind of like Andy Dick standing next to Jason Momoa. And, but I think that you just have like a magnetism about you in a lot of different ways. You seem, you are strong. You have a strong presence about you. When you told me about this shadow entity, I thought somebody was lost that had lost their life after the hurricane. This is just a theory I'm throwing out there. I don't believe this, but this is something that went through my mind. I felt like somebody had lost their life in Helene and you had gone to like the four corners of town that day, dude, to bring water, to bring supplies, to go help. My interpretation of what you had experienced was someone didn't know where to go and they saw you and they were trying to get you to help them.
Yeah.
And that's why they came back with you.
I like that way better.
I think that it can seem negative.
Yeah.
Because it's unknown.
We don't know what it is. Yeah. It's going to scare us.
Exactly. I think somebody was coming to you for help, dude. I think somebody saw you bringing water.
That just gave me chills. I like,
well, okay.
I was not expecting that.
I don't believe this.
Yeah. It's a great theory, though.
I am posing the idea because I always, on one hand, am like, I don't know if any of this exists. On the other hand, if this is us in the afterlife, then I'd like to think that we are still human. When that hurricane hit, people were gone instantly.
Yeah.
There were people that died before they even knew it was going on. I'd like to think that somebody saw you, they can tell you've got some energy about you, and they were just like, how do I figure this out? How do I navigate where I'm at? Yeah. That was my thought.
I love that theory because I think whenever we talk about attachments and stuff, and you hear about attachments, and
it's always got this negative connotation.
It's always evil.
I don't like that. I think that people put that connotation to it because they don't know what the this is.
Yeah, and we want to attach, some kind of human thing to it, no matter what it is. And then for some reason, paranormal, it's always got to be something bad. Somebody's murdered here, and that's why it's haunted.
Yeah,
not This person spent their entire life in this place. Maybe they just this was their happy place, and that's where they are.
But also, you die in a flood, you leave the corporeal realm very quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a guide.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that I think about this is because you have a lot of stories where people go into a haunted residence and there's all kinds of crazy stuff going in, and then somebody who is a guide or even if they don't even know what they're doing really, they come into the situation and they're like, hey, look, the whole cliche of go towards the light. Maybe some people just don't inherently understand this situation and they need somebody to tell them like, hey, you need to go somewhere else. I think and hear me out, this is so stupid, but hear me out. I think it's like the same reason people call into Dave Ramsey's show. I think at their core, I think they understand certain things that they could do to be better financially, but they need to hear it from somebody else.
Well, think about even like in an airport. Think about how many times you walk around an airport and there's a million people that work there that help get you to different places. Like we look for direction when we're confused.
Yeah.
So, no, I think that's a fascinating idea about that. It really hadn't crossed my mind. But.
Well, again, I don't know anything about anything. I am not an authority on this.
Well, none of us do. This is,
Sure.
we take this stuff on faith and speculation
But I think the thing with this is that I do feel in a sense that I understand how scared I would be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I would look to the biggest, strongest dude around that looks like he knows what's going on and how to fix things or how to get where I'm going. And maybe I'd follow that guy.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
No, I love that thought. That's a very original thought on that, kind of attachment thing. No, I love that.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go.
Here we go.
The trifecta becomes complete.
The third key. Now I was, been listening to the podcast since you put it out. I've been doing a ton of long drives. It's been comfort food riding around listening to you. You guys are doing a great job with it. And
Thank you, brother.
I was so stoked to hear Micah the first time on there. He brought it up and told
And
his
you're
side.
like, I don't have to hear it. I lived it.
I
damn
lived it. I was like, what for me?
Just so everybody knows, we are talking about on the first episode that Micah Hanks came on and he talked about UFOs. There was a specific experience that he had on the Blue Ridge Parkway where he, unfortunately, did not see something.
Yeah, he was driving.
But there were two people in the car that did, and one of them was Matt Hickson from our episode, The Haunting of Hickson House. If you haven't heard that, that's a fun one.
That was some spooky shit.
That was some spooky shit.
That was like at night. I was in like the far east side of Tennessee by that point, driving out to the coast, and it got to me a little bit. I was creeped. Your thing with the face around the door, I was like, nope.
Dude,
it creeped me out.
I'm telling you.
It creeped me out so bad.
I portrayed that on the podcast with some sound effects because I wanted people to experience essentially what I experienced.
Yeah.
I never exaggerate things like that, dude.
Yeah.
That happened exactly like I told it.
Yep. I believe it, man.
And it's creepy as
creeped
shit.
me out.
I'm glad to hear that because it creeped me out a lot. So you are passenger number 3 heading up the Blue Ridge Parkway with Micah Hanks and Matt Hickson.
Yep. I was in the front seat too. Mike was driving. I was in the front seat. Matt was sitting directly behind me. And again, it was great hearing Micah tell his side, Matt tell his, which I was like, holy shit, we all have the exact same story, which is crazy. Because you don't even get that like going in somewhere and someone gets in a bar fight and like you got 10 different stories of how these two guys went down. It was crazy, man. Like,
yeah,
can't even corroborate that with a normal occurrence.
Yeah.
And honestly, like since that happened and that next day when we went hiking up that logging trail trying to find the origin of it, like we haven't really talked about that much together. Me and Micah have at different times.
That's what
like,
we got to do is we got to get you 3 in the
all
room.
All 3 in it. Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah. So what I remember, we had kind of done this like it was like a series of, hey, let's just hang out. We'll go ride around. Again, like both of them said, like we weren't really like drinking or boozing up, partying, and
Yeah, you guys
going
like
out.
weren't old enough.
Yeah,
we're just.
it was just like, hey, let's cruise around. Like, we love talking about this stuff. And we ran into you somewhere, like it was either at a gas station or somewhere downtown that night. Because I specifically remember running into you. You're like, oh, what are you guys up to? And we're like, we were going to go to whatever Devil's Tunnel thing that Michael was talking about, that little overpass that's all painted up that goes.
Did y'all come by the house or?
No, we were out somewhere.
Maybe it was downtown.
It was downtown. We ran into you somewhere. And I specifically remember you saying, I heard some weird reports of people seeing stuff on the Parkway. Tonight might be a good night to see UFOs.
I might have even been talking about something that I'd seen. Now, I will concede that I was on the first Parkway overlook. What's so bizarre is this was very close. This is right there where I saw that triangular thing with my buddy John Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
I will concede that back in the day, I think I was seeing Chinese lanterns. I'm almost certain that I was off the first Parkway overlook near the Arboretum. But that might have been what I was talking about because that timeline, I think, lines up.
I remember vividly running into you before we went out and drove around to do this. You kind of mentioned that's why we were like, oh, let's go up to the Parkway too. It'll be the fun way to go back. So we drove up, and it's kind of that, crappy road going up through Pisgah and stuff. And got to the creepy tunnel that I'd never been to. That Micah was talking about.
That thing's great. It's still up
super
there.
Creepy. But
Let's
it's
go
like
tonight.
No. It's like spooky because it's like a lot of graffiti and then people purposely putting like evil looking shit under it.
And it's just very long too.
Yeah, it's campers, it's teenagers. It was spooky in its own kind of human way. It wasn't spooky like, oh, there's ghosts under this tunnel.
Yeah.
So I remember we went under a tunnel, and then it goes pretty far up the Parkway by the time you get to that section to come like start making your way down. So we're riding down. It's like, 35 miles an hour. You can't really speed going down through there because it's really windy if anybody's ever been up on the Parkway on that side. And on the passenger side, where me and Matt are, is the mountain range that you would see at all the overlooks.
Right.
So on Micah's side, he was on like the mountain tree side with the road.
Oh, that's so
out the
funny
left.
because in my mind, I always pictured that the mountains were open on the driver's side. For
It was on the passenger side.
Oh,
We were coming down the mountain, and we're just kind of chatting, like nothing real crazy. And every couple miles, there's the overlooks where you could pull off and look at how pretty the mountains are. And that far up, there's no light pollution from town.
Yeah, not at all.
I want to say
you can see lights in the distance, but they're not polluting. It's not like.
Well, even that far up, there's no houses out there. So there's there's nothing even down in the valley.
That's national forest.
Yeah. The only thing lighting it up would be the moon and stars in the sky. So you can make out the different layers of the mountain ranges.
I swear to God, I just heard you. By the moon and the stars in the sky.
I'll be there.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So anyway, we're cruising along, probably a mile or two down the Parkway once we've gotten on. And me and Matt see the exact same thing. Like, we looked out and you could see like the different layers of the mountain range. So there's kind of a big valley that goes out to the first little layer of mountains. And then there's two, and then kind of the one that you would see in the horizon that would be the furthest off.
Yeah.
No other light. And right at the tip of this mountain is this big red, like what I remember is a big red line that was shining red light on the side of the mountain, like huge. Not like a little tent. It was big, like this out of nowhere, big red light kind of sticking out of the side of the mountain, shining down on the side of the mountain, and it was like this big red triangle.
Man.
And the one part that was coming up had a darker line to it. Like, I vividly remember that. It was right at this overlook. So me and Matt are getting a really good look at this thing. And we're both like, holy shit, what is that?
Explain this dark line you were saying.
It was kind of like a darker red in my memory that I'm seeing. So it was like a darker red.
A darker part of the craft.
Yeah. So it was almost like a red lightsabers sticking out of the side of the mountain. And then the triangle part was like red light shining down on the mountain
Okay.
to make this big red triangle. Like on the, like I said, Micah mentioned that I drew it because it was like kind of burned in my memory.
Yeah.
And me and Matt both kind of start freaking out. We're like, what is that? And right about that time, we hit the tree lines where the trees came back up from.
And just blocked the view.
Yeah. So you could I still remember seeing the light kind of, flashing through the trees as we're going by. Mike is freaking out. He clearly saw the glow, and he gets down, and as soon as he could turn around, he turns around, and we start coming back up and can still kind of see this light. And as soon as we get up to where that overlook, it was just totally gone. Like somebody just flipped a switch and turned it off. And we sat there for probably 30 minutes with all the lights off. Like, I think I had a camera with me I'd brought and was just sitting there, like, waiting for that thing to turn back on. I think we saw one car drive by us. Like, we were the only ones up there for a long time. We were like, what was that? We have to go back. So the next day, we're like, let's team up, go back over there. We drive back up to that overlook. We're kind of hanging out. We notice there's a little kind of logging road kind of thing that goes down, like, straight down to that little range that we're pretty sure it was on. Get out, start hiking. We get pretty far up there. We're kind of chatting, and everybody's, we're on a mission. We're cruising.
Most people know the end of this story, but we're going to go there again.
So the way I remember, I'm pretty sure it was me in the back, Matt was in the middle, and Micah was up front. And we're cruising along, and all of a sudden, Micah goes, bear. And right then, it was like a adolescent black bear just like kind of fell out of this tree, like right by us. I remember it like flumping down, like on its ass. And it looked at us, and we're all like, ah! And that thing took off one way, and we went the other way, and like we're running, like dying laughing, like never got up to see if there was anything up there, like, because it was a bear, and we were like, get away from that.
Would that have not been the shit if the bear had not been there?
Yeah.
You roll up the trail and you see like 4
flattened trees
or 4 pinpoint scorch marks, like
something.
The Socorro, New Mexico incident, which, happened in the desert. But, well, let me ask you this. What did you interpret that was?
I still don't. I think, I had always heard there was weird military stuff up in those mountains of training and all that kind of stuff, or testing for different things. So initially I was like, maybe that's some kind of weird military thing. Like maybe whatever was shining all that light was at the tip of that triangle, and it was just a helicopter or something. Like
right.
That kind of thought popped in my head, but there was no noise. Like there was no, like even in that valley, you could hear a helicopter's engine running or something. Like,
sure. If you're that close to it, I think at that point, even in a car, you probably would have heard something.
Yeah. And especially as long as we sat there. If there was like
even in
some
the distance,
group doing training or something, but that light was so bright, it didn't look like it came from some kind of like man-made machine necessarily. It was just such a bright, crazy glowing light.
Right.
Well, it was huge too. I mean, it was like sticking out the side of the mountain. It wasn't like somebody was a flashlight and we're like, oh, it's,
Yeah, I mean, even if you had one of those like 1 million candle power flashlights that they used to use on the X-Files.
This was red.
Number one. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's not going to manifest red no matter how far off you are from it. The other thing, and we talked about this on this episode where Micah and Austin totally shit on me because I brought up the experimental forest signs, but they didn't even let me finish my thought, or at least that's the narrative I'm going to paint.
The ferns.
About those experimental ferns. But again, the reason that I'm like, well, I don't know, is it just an experimental forest is because I see this damn triangular craft right there.
Yeah.
And then Austin brings up later on the episode, after shitting on my idea, that Lockheed Martin has a headquarters right down there in Spartanburg, South Carolina, right down the frickin' mountain. So what I think is really interesting is I don't know exactly, I can't remember on that episode if he ever tells what year that Lockheed had their situation going on. But I
think they're still actively up there. I mean,
I think they'd have to be.
I was just listening to a podcast about a Mac v. SOG guy from Vietnam, like some of the special forces, Green Berets, like some of those kind of initial guys in Vietnam. And he was talking about training in the forests in North Carolina, and it was snowing, and they were laughing about it because they're like, we're about to go to the jungles of Vietnam. We're training in the snow. And that was obviously like up here in the Parkway. And I think you might have mentioned that, you know, they've had training around the Linville Gorge area. Like, it's just a rugged, crazy terrain.
All
and it
over
makes
the
total
place.
sense.
And as far as I understand, one of the reasons that they have people doing military training up here, especially in aircraft, is because the mountain ranges are very, very similar to the ones in Afghanistan. And maybe I am not telling the truth here, but I always thought it was because the way that the wind currents would be around mountain formations like that, so that they would kind of know what to expect with turbulence.
Like the drafts and different things. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I thought. I could be completely off.
It is really mountainous out there. So
yeah, and you know, it
makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. The other thing is, I personally have seen a triangular drone here multiple times. I don't think it's a TR-3B or what they typically talk about as this, you know, I mean, maybe it was something that was similar to, you know, some sort of government craft. I think more so it would be government craft than alien, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I think that aliens don't visit Earth or that the UAP phenomenon is not happening here. But what I am saying is anything that I've ever seen, I think I could easily equate that to it being experimental government craft. I've seen something in the sky in New Mexico that I didn't know what it was. And I will only describe it as looking like a giant silver barbell that was very high up in the sky.
Interesting.
I do not think it was alien. I think it easily could have been terrestrial.
Yeah. Well, our government like never lies to us about anything. They're totally transparent.
They're so transparent, and I know exactly where my taxpayer money is going, and that's what makes me proud to be an American. But so anyway,
no, I think you're right about a lot of that stuff. I'm sure, you know, we have all sorts of crazy stuff that visits our planet all the time, maybe, but
probably
I think
so.
more than likely it's a lot of just our own crap that is, you know, experimental, years ahead of its time.
It makes sense to me why the government would be tight-lipped about this stuff.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
From like a homeland security
100%.
perspective.
If you are testing out something that is going to be advantageous for you in warfare, are you gonna tell everybody about it? No.
Probably not going to broadcast that.
It makes a ton of sense. And that's why I feel like for a vast majority of the cases that are talked about in UAP studies, why else do you think the government is not going to... People are like, disclosure. We're going to get disclosure. No, we're not. Because that almost immediately negates the upper hand that we would have with foreign adversaries. I understand it from that aspect. Do I agree with it? Not really, but I get it.
Yeah.
At least from the realistic standpoint of where we're at with the military and potential scuffles or wars or whatever. All that being said, dude, we're coming up on damn near 2 hours. So we should
distill this down into something.
We should probably
something listenable.
Oh no, I'm gonna put the whole thing out there. But I think we should probably bring it to a close. But all that being said, my man, dude, I'll just quote the Beatles. Hold on, what is the lyric? You and I have memories longer than the road that stretches out ahead. That's what Steve Jobs said to what's his face from Microsoft? Oh yeah, Bill Gates. And even though I don't feel like you're Bill Gates and I'm Steve Jobs by any means, you and I have experienced things in the realm of life and the paranormal that not a lot of people have gotten to experience together. Yeah. Not everybody gets to go play the frickin' Hard Rock in Nashville together on a whim when it wasn't even our frickin' band.
Yeah,
we were hired guns.
Universe randomly brought us together at different times for some pretty interesting stuff.
We got to experience the Asheville music scene. We got to experience the Asheville paranormal scene.
Yeah.
We got to experience Asheville in a time when this place was vastly less populated than it is now.
Yeah. I feel maybe it's nostalgia or something, but like thinking back on, especially like listening back to the podcast, there was like, and I'm sure it was just because we were young and newly excited about this stuff. It was like a tangible excitement about this stuff, music, and then also like all the paranormal weird stuff. Like it was such a like fun time. It was like almost like it was like real because we were like manifesting it to be like all these stories, and I don't know. It was a fun time to grow up here.
It felt like the world was a little smaller back then.
Oh yeah.
And it felt like wonder was a little bit more attainable back then. It was like any given night, we could get in the car with Micah and we could drive to someplace like Rosman, North Carolina, and we could maybe actually, no shit, see a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
If we camped out long enough.
We got the right group of people right now in the right moment.
But think about this. You and Micah and Hickson went on the Parkway.
Yeah.
And whatever you want to call it, you saw a UFO.
Yep.
Okay?
We saw something weird that I've talked about since then. And it's honestly like one of the main things that I still think about. Like, what was that? Never seen anything else like it either.
It's pretty cool when you think about it in the regard of like, here we were growing up, doing our thing, playing music, getting out there, trying to understand the universe. We're interested in the unexplained. And for one brief window into that universe, you got a little tiny peek.
Yep.
And I think that's, in some regards, maybe a little more than I ever really saw, or a lot of us ever really saw. And for that, my friend, I think that you should be happy that you got to see it. Yeah. And sometimes when these things are unexplained and scary in certain regards, I don't know, maybe it's something about you, dude. Maybe you have the ability to see into those other realms, or maybe you attract this stuff. I don't know what it is, but I'm saying just whenever, and I don't need to tell you this, but whenever it pops up, whenever you start getting that weird feeling, snap some pictures, say a prayer, do your thing, and come back and talk to me about it. Because
I definitely pay attention to it a lot now. And I've had, several conversations with some other friends that are, not necessarily in this, but of, different backgrounds and spiritualities and stuff. And I think the agreement is like, if you kind of are open to it or understand it from whatever, like you kind of see it a little more.
Sure.
And not that I'm inviting anything ever, but I think there is kind of like you get like the veil's lifted just a little bit and you get a little bit of understanding of what something might be, or that stuff could happen.
Yeah. Well, I've been on a couple of podcasts recently talking about this, and recently Austin and I spoke with this incredible artist that has this store down in Pisgah Forest near Brevard, and she calls her business Tire Squatch. And what she does is she makes Sasquatch and deer and all kinds of different animals out of recycled tires. And
cool.
She's an incredible artist. I mean, legitimately beautiful work that she does. We had this conversation with her recently where she was talking about her outlook on Sasquatch and even maybe some of the metaphysical versions of what people could interpret as Sasquatch. But I loved how she brought this up so much. And she says, if you go hunting Bigfoot, if you go on the hunt, well, maybe Bigfoot's going to know that you're hunting and he's going to give you this, F you get out of here. Maybe that's why the Sasquatch smells bad, because he's saying, you get out of here. I don't want you around here.
Defense mechanism. He knows.
But if you go into even if Sasquatch is potentially metaphysical and ghosts in that same, criteria, you go into it and you say, I'm not hunting. I'm here to have a conversation. I am here to experience. If you want to talk to me, the door is open. I'd like to have a conversation with you. And I thought that was such a beautiful outlook in general with humanity or the unknown, to just be like, hey, I'm just here to have a conversation. I want to learn more about myself. I want to learn more about you. If you're open to talking about this, I would love to have a conversation. Now, Austin and I are planning on doing some actual field paranormal investigations. We are not going to do ghost hunts. We're going to do paranormal investigations. And I am so down with this idea. And a lot of modern paranormal investigators kind of do this. They just try to start a conversation in a room and see if somebody will talk to them.
Yeah.
But I think in so many aspects of the paranormal, we could do the same thing. You never know what communication apparatus or abilities UFOs may have. We could put that out there. I know this sounds woo-woo, but it is what it is, man.
It's everything in this is about intention.
Yes.
And something like, especially when making jewelry, all that kind of stuff, like the things that you're making, the people are going to wear on their body needs to have the good intention in it. You put those intentions of protection and strength into the stuff that you do. And it'd be the same thing as you approach anything. Like, it's all your intentions kind of drive how the rest of this stuff's going to go. Whether it's a conversation with somebody or something in your job, interactions with people. And it'd be the same thing going into something in the more paranormal realm. Like you said, if you're going in hunting, you're a ghost hunter, we're coming to get you.
Yeah, you're just making the energy uncomfortable to begin with.
Yeah. If you're going in like, I'm here
to observe.
Yep.
Or talk, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to put out there.
And that's the same thing kind of going to, sacred historical sites or anything that I've done with traveling. Yeah. Like, that's, you go in with the attention, like, I'm here to learn, I'm here to respect. Please allow me to be here and honor the people that were here before me.
Yeah, and in a sense also just take something home with you, which is just knowledge, understanding of these people and their culture and their life. And I think a lot of people, even in the afterlife, if this is real, I think they might appreciate that, because I think the people want people to know what they did. Why else would we leave all this stuff behind? Why would we leave literature?
Would we create things?
Why would we create
art?
100%.
Yeah.
Dude, that being said, we got to cut this thing off. We are 10 minutes outside the 2-hour mark. Justin, dude, I love you so much.
Love you too, brother.
Every single time you and I get to hang out, it is always, I make room for you, damn it. And there's not a lot of people on the planet that I do that for. And yeah, man, I mean,
as soon as we get down here, we're going to keep drinking beers and talking about this stuff.
Oh, it's going to go on for a long time. But dude, I'm so glad that we are buds. I'm so glad that you took the time as you're driving all over the country, make a pit stop by Ghosts in the Mountains. I've mentioned you on the podcast many a time, and I'm so glad we finally got you in here. This is the first of many times, my man.
Yeah, I would love to get the whole crew up in here one night, and
we're going to do it.
It'd be great.
It's going to be a free-for-all.
Yeah.
Maybe
we'll
around
go
the
on location.
holidays.
Hey, yeah, that'd be good. Go on location somewhere. That'd be fun.
Dude. Oh, we can do it. We can do it easy.
Yeah.
All right. I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out and listening to me and my good buddy Justin reminisce about all this crazy stuff that we have experienced over the years. It's been a very long time. We could write multiple books about it, but we tried to condense as much as we possibly could into this episode. But there are going to be more times in the future that we're going to get into even crazier stuff. As always, I just want to thank every one of you for listening to Ghosts in the Mountains. If you are a first-time listener, you can go to ghostsinthemountains.com to find out more about what we do. You can support the show by supporting us on Patreon, where you will have access to behind-the-scenes goodies and videos and all kinds of different stuff, and an ad-free RSS feed of the podcast. And as always, go out there into the universe, bring positive vibes, and if you ever find anything that you find strange, please send it in to us. You can write us at ghostsinthemountains@gmail.com, or you can just message us on Instagram. In fact, we had a listener write in today that saw some lights somewhere over Hendersonville, North Carolina, just right down the road, that he equated to being very similar to the Brown Mountain Lights, and sent some video in. And I gotta say, I didn't know exactly what those lights were, so thank you so much for sending those in, and we will catch you on the next episode of Ghosts in the Mountains. Stay spooky, everybody. All right, so you and I are going down to Key West, and you and I are going to meet Robert the Devil Doll, right?
Yeah, well,
you down?
I'm down. I'm down. Dolls freak me out for some reason.
Well, yeah, for good reason.
There's a spooky doll at a house in Nashville that was there for years. This sick person put it up in their window. It was like this boy doll that would look out of the windows.
I have to sleep tonight. All right. but we're going to go to Key West. Maybe. We'll see. All right. There's your Keister egg. Good night, everybody.